Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the candy bomber himself, Colonel Gale Hal Halverson, now 92 years young. I think a lot of people thought the idea of having the candy bomber here, who was such an emblematic figure of World War II and the days afterward, was my idea, but it was the choir and orchestra, and I couldn't have been happier with the choices that they made. Getting to meet Gale Hal Halverson, I've known about him for years. A very close friend of mine wrote a wonderful book recently about the Berlin airlift. Hal was a big part of it. And then it does remind us of the values of that time. You think about all the good that he did, not just for those children, but the idea that shortly after the war, American servicemen were feeding German children refugees who had not that many years before or months before their parents had been fighting America. And I think that there are larger lessons that endure to this day. We thought it only fitting that we should give you 2 sticks of gum because they changed your life and the lives of so many.
Well, thank you, Tom. This little gift changed my life forever. Thank you very much.
Hal, I want to wish you Merry Christmas, and I think we should wish everyone here Merry Christmas.
Yes. Well. Merry Christmas, everybody. Have a good one.
Well, when I was growing up, we lived in a succession of small houses in working class communities on the Great Plains, and it was always cold, out there in what is called the American Savannah. But Christmas had a kind of special meaning, I think, for everybody. Obviously, all of communities in which we grew up celebrated the Christian faith for the most part. They were Methodist and Congregationalists, Episcopalians, a lot of Lutherans, obviously, a lot of Roman Catholics as well. And it was a bonding experience for the community, and then within every family you had your own separate kinds of traditions. I had a feisty grandmother who couldn't wait for Christmas morning, so we opened some gifts on Christmas Eve. Christmas Eve kept getting moved down during the day. It was noon that she would want to open the gifts, it turns out. And then we would have the big Christmas the next morning. And very often we'd go out somewhere along the Missouri River and cut our own Christmas tree. I did that from the time I was 10 on. I kind of spotted a tree early in the year, and we'd cut it and drag it all the way back to town. And then what I remember most of all are the church services that everybody would go to. Generally, there would be just 1 or 2 churches, so we would all gather there. And I had a certain, I suppose, talent for speaking, so from the earliest memory on, I was up on the altar next to the minister reading from Luke 2 about the birth of Christ, or playing in the live nativity scene the part of Joseph. When I was in the 2nd grade, Mary was in the 7th grade, so we had to have Mary sit down the entire time because the distances were so great between us. So I have all these very fond memories. And then I married a woman whose birthday is on Christmas Day. And her grandfather every year would stop the big railroad lines going through South Dakota on the way to Seattle, and he would order oysters. And oysters would come back to these landlocked communities. And everybody would have an order of oysters, and Christmas was always about oyster stew. That continues to this day in our family. We still have oyster stew on Christmas Eve. It started in the middle of the prairie, and it's a great tradition for our children and for our grandchildren as well. And Joseph also went up from Galilee out of the city of Nazareth into Judea under the city of David, which is called Bethlehem, to be taxed with Mary, his espoused wife, being great with child. And so it was that while they were there, the days were accomplished that she should be delivered. The idea of standing in front of the choir and orchestra with Mac at the podium and his baton in hand is just one of those great privileges. I've often said that as a journalist, I've been able to fulfill my childhood dreams of wanting to be in the front row of history wherever it's being made. And the Mormon Tabernacle Choir and Orchestra is certainly part of that for the American culture. It is a fixed part of who we are. The sounds, the commitment of the people who participate, the place of the LDS Church in American religious music is unalloyed. So to just have a small role in all of that was a great thrill. I don't have a bucket list, I suppose, but if I did, that would be on it. The Mormon Tabernacle Choir, especially in the Midwest, was always an integral part of Christmas. You'd listen to it on the radio first thing in the morning or play your long play records in those days. I worked in radio stations when I was in high school, and I was always grateful for the choir and orchestra because I could just put on the long play Christmas album and then sit back, and everybody would be absolutely entertained and moved by what they were hearing.